Welcome back to PokerStars Championship Sochi, where we are four-handed at the final table of the main event. 2 eliminations so far today. We've lost Timur Bubnov, the spin-and-go qualifier from Vladivostok. Also eliminated, rather surprisingly in 5th place, the start-of-day chip leader, Lavrenti Ni, leaving Seyed Garvam, Dmitry Vitkin, Vladimir Troinovsky and Pavel Sheshikov competing for the first prize of 29 million rubles and the championship trophy. It's James Hartigan alongside Matt Broughton.
Hello again, thanks for being with us.
And we are kicking off level 26 of the main event. The blinds are now 25,000, 50,000 with a 5,000 ante. Average stack 2.9 million, so above the 50 big blind mark. No one at immediate risk. Garvam the low man at the table, but a 37 big blind stack, more than playable.
Yeah, for sure. It served him well. He's never really been super comfortable today, but he's always kept his head above water. Managed to sit back as 2 of his opponents got knocked out. Landed up rather nicely.
The Twitter hashtag is PokerStarsTV. There is the live chat on Twitch. As we get back to it, cards out again. We see Dmitry Vitkin folding under the gun. Seyed Garvam is an amateur poker player, runs a sports betting company. Hails from Iran. He's got King 7 of diamonds on the button.
Of course, the dynamic's going to change four-handed here. Everyone gets a little bit looser, a bit more experimental. Harder and harder for the players to put each other on hands. All semblance of tightness. Not going to serve you so well. Jack 10, very attractive on the big blind.
Pavel Sheshikov is a professional cash game player. He is called out of the big blind, but Garvam was ahead before the flop. He's ahead after the flop, pairing his 7. With Sheshikov checking. See what Garvam does with bottom pair. Looks like a C-bet. Blue chips 5k, green chips 25k. 110,000 the bet from Garvam.
Gut shot. Meh. Alright, let's take another card.
King of spades on the turn.
Garvam running pretty well. Got to be said for a big chunk at last level, and here we are already. Turns 2 pair. Pretty wet board, various things to be concerned about. Make sure you get value if someone's going to draw out against you. 485,000 in the middle.
So Garvam fires 290,000 into 485,000. Sheshikov double gutted now.
Yeah, just too many ways to improve. Gonna pay to see that final card. Fingers crossed for the river.
Garvam improves to trips. The board bricks out for Sheshikov. Don't think he'll put any more chips in.
It's a boat, mate. It's a boat. 7's full of kings.
Of course it is.
It's even better. Not that it really matters. Sheshikov at no point really had anything other than fingers crossed and a couple of options, but whiffs on all occasions. Funny, just thinking back to knee, it kind of feels like these are sort of the hands. The spot the Shishkov's in now is kind of what knee was getting into. Lots of draws, lots of ways to get out of it, but was being so much more aggressive. So that when it come to having made nothing at the end and letting the hand go, much more expensive for knee in all those instances than this perhaps is for Shishkov. But suddenly giving away a lot of emotion. I don't think we've seen him bang his head on the table and let out enormous sighs like that before. Hardly a statue. I mean, one would like to think that all of this mumbling to himself and eyebrow raising, maybe he's going to come in with some funky move. It would be dreadful timing. But we know he can't be wondering if he's good, because he has Jack High on the sevens. Really weird. Unless he immediately knew he was letting it go, but just wanted to sell that he doesn't do this kind of thing on weak draws. I don't get this at all. I really don't know what he's considering.
Well, with his body language, raising now is not an option. So
for sure.
Bluffing just ain't going to happen. And the Jack High hero call would be mistimed? Question mark?
And just out of character as well. 2 minutes to pass. My hope is that it was just to make it look like he was much stronger and he's made a brilliant laydown here. But look, just one clap from a confused member of the audience and lets you know exactly how strange that hand was.
Well, Garvam chips up to 2.4 million, just below Dmitry Vitkind on the leaderboard now. Both players hovering around the 50 big blind mark. Punisher commenting on the elimination of Knee just before the break. He says, can't believe Knee was playing like that. He had a chance to win this main event. The hand he played against Garvam, the 7-4 hand, was bizarre.
Yeah.
I do not profess to be a professional poker player, but I could not make head nor tail of his line in that hand.
My only thought is he just has, when they were short-handed, they're five-handed, such a low expectation of his opponent's holdings. He's just thinking that aggression and persistence is going to win him a vast majority of the pots. But really a hard one to go back and piece together. Fold it around to the button. Sorry, not the button. The blinds. King Jack, entirely premium in this situation. Gonna raise it from the small blind. No, joy for Vitkin.
So we've played 71 hands so far at the final table, 2 eliminations. Let's just talk about the prize money quickly, Matt. Everyone has now locked up a decent amount now that we're down to 4. 10.78 million rubles. Well, that translates as 190,000 US dollars. 13 million for third, 18 million for the runner-up, 29 million for the winner, which, as you've been saying, at today's exchange rate is roughly 514,000 US dollars.
Under the gun raise from Troyanovsky, woke up with the Jack 10 off. 6-7 off.
Yeah, Troyanovsky at the moment with the slight chip lead over Shishkov. Obviously, Shishkov lost that hand to Garvam. And that increases his chip lead. Playing 3.41 million. And obviously a player with a very impressive poker resume. And a decent crowd, including the legend that is Kenny Rogers.
No.
Watching the Sochi main event final table.
I thought that was Odin.
Obviously, we are playing this final table inside the theatre at the Sochi Casino and Resort, so plenty of seating for people to take advantage of. Yeah, Vladimir Troyanovsky plays as Vov Troy online. He is a high roller from St. Petersburg. He's had 11 six-figure results, including several final tables in super high roller events. And as far as main events are concerned, he came close in the Bahamas last year, finishing in 5th place in the 2016 main event.
Wow.
He has more caches in the scoop, by the way, than any other Russian player. He has a scoop watch, but is yet to win a W Coop bracelet.
It's unbelievable.
English.
А? Что было?
Говорю, невероятно. It's unbelievable.
A lot of love for Kenny on Twitch. Glad you enjoyed that.
Ты же на финалках был, да, и потом уже? Да? В Монако, да, ты, по-моему?
На Багамах.
Нет, ну имеется в виду такая обычная, не супер.
На Багамах. Мейн, ты имеешь в виду?
Да.
Ну, если мейн, то на Багамах.
На финалке, да? Какое место занял?
5-е.
То есть твой рекорд.
Если Макао не считается.
You do feel that with this lineup right now, going to be a lot of blind-on-blind battles between Troyanovsky and Shirshikov. King 9 off for Troyanovsky. Just going to limp in.
175.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, yes. Okay, sorry about this. Yes, it was indeed a limp from Troyanovsky. Now a raise from Shirshikov with the 10-7 suited.
Думаю, сразу тебя переставить или
And that's a good sign.
помучить.
Because as I say, accepting that there's going to be lots of blind-on-blind battles, to see Shirshikov being pretty aggressive against Troyanovsky when he tries to just limp in.
Дать тебе еще поблефовать.
Sure, it's not going to stop Troyanovsky from trying it, but at least we know we're going to see some bigger pots every time it's heads up between these two.
Ace 6-6. King high still good.
And it's funny because when we come down to 9 players, when we do that final draw and you go, well, this is, you know, there's some key dynamics that are going to be set in motion here. And you see it comes down with just 4, that these two sitting right in this scenario with Shirshikov right behind Troyanovsky.
Well, with the action going check-check on the flop, Vlad improves to a pair of kings on the turn. Once again, it goes check-check, and we get the deuce of diamonds on the river.
Now, do we get 2 minutes of Shirshikov laying on the table and sighing and raising his eyebrows before he folds this? Or is he going to try and take control of this? Seems like a very low value scenario.
Six bet. 175. 5 call.
Well, Troyanovsky manages to induce a bluff of 175,000 and widens the gap between him and Pavel Shirshikov.
Решил, что лучше помучить.
76 bigs for Vlad, 60 bigs for Pavel.
Yeah, 2 million on the day.
There he is. You got no one to hold him, no one to fold him.
See, the thing is, all I can think is Olympian gods. You know, you see that headband, it is whoever holds this bottle of water, should he be worthy, may drink it.
Garvam's under the gun here.
C3. Raise 105.
King Jack. So pretty, four-handed. You're like, oh, God. This is it. This is the nuts. This is the dream come true. Oh, unless of course one of the other options is the king queen, in which case I'll take that instead. Wow.
6 raise. 315. 8 pass.
So it's a 3-bet to 315,000.
I mean, he's got position. Could we see a 4-bet here? Is king jack in this situation good enough? The thing is, when you start to fold these kind of hands four-handed, personally, I kind of think I'm such a nit. I mean, it's a great fold, but it becomes harder and harder to fold those big picture cards the longer you go into short-handed play. What do you boys and girls think at home? Don't forget, get in touch with us. Hashtag PokerStarsTV. I can see everything flying by on twitch.tv/PokerStars. Gandalf confirmed. That seems to be the most popular.
Well, if Gandalf decided to lay down his staff and join the hippie movement, maybe.
Yeah. The worst thing is if you're with that guy and he says, why do they keep putting the camera on me? Do you go, I have no idea, Dad? Or do they go, well, it's because you look a bit weird, isn't it? You look a bit weird, Dad. I've told you, this look. It's very provocative. Raise it up from the button with your ace-3 suited, why don't you, Sheshikov? Any customers? King 10. Let the king jack go a minute ago, but that was a re-raise. Take a flop with this, I would say, sir.
Yeah, sure enough. Garvam calls. The flop is ace, jack, 8 with 2 clubs. This is all Sheshikov. Just the gut shot for Garvam.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit of something. It depends how cute Sheshikov wants to play this. But that's a hell of a flop.
We've actually seen him slow play a lot of big hands.
Yeah.
And we often see him check back flops where he's really strong favourite. And sure enough, this is another example of that. So we get the 4 on the hearts, a free turn card.
I mean, Gavin might see that check as invitation enough with his semi-bluff. Doesn't take it.
No, he checks a second time. And now I kind of feel Sheshikov will bet.
Bet 135.
So Sheshikov does bet 135,000.
Oh, man. I mean, this is where if you're knee, who's no longer in the tournament, you kind of expect him to re-raise. I hope Gavin doesn't do something overly creative here. Anthony comes in with, I like hippie Santa Claus on vacation. Ah, that's a pretty good shout, actually. I quite like that.
Steve Ryan points out that among Kenny Rogers' hits were islands in the live stream. As Sheshikov takes this down with that bet on the turn.
Ну да. Косарь или больше?
Ну, что-то под 900, по-моему.
Сколько дали за?
Now granted, Matt, we're not seeing every single person who's entering today's competition because most people are just tagging it PSC win. They're not worrying about PokerStars TV. They're not worrying about directing it at us. And by the way, that is the correct protocol. Just hashtag PSC win. But the ones I am seeing in our timeline, it seems like we're getting a lot of entries today. A lot of people playing the 7 deuce game and trying to win themselves that €109 ticket.
Good. Well, it's the 7 deuce. Give them a real challenge and they're all over it.
That and the fact that the prize is pretty juicy.
Yeah, that helps,
More than €1,000 in prizes today as Vitkin raises. 7-5 suited under the gun. Garvan calls in position with King Jack. Shershikov is in the big blind with 8-6.
Heads up to the flop.
Suit 8, bet 125.
Okay, so it's a 6-4 deuce rainbow Badoogie builder. Up and down for Vitkin, so he bets 125. Also got the backdoor clubs, if you want to be really kind. It's amazing, isn't it? Pre-flop, the King Jack versus the 5-7. 5-7 all over this. Coin flip still, though.
Suit 3, raised 285.
Wow, gonna put him to the test. Yep, just got too much going on not to take another card.
Ten on the turns. Is King High still the best hand?
Suit 8, check.
But Vitkin still has decent equity with his draw.
Suit 3, check.
Boom.
Didn't need to improve, but does.
Makes you feel slightly better though, doesn't it? If you kind of think you're probably ahead and then you get there on the river, you're like, okay.
Now Vitkin will no doubt have realised that 7 high is highly unlikely to be the best hand. His only chance to win this pot, to claim the 895k in the middle, is to bluff it. But with Garvan pairing his king on the river, it's a bluff that will not get through.
He did raise pre-flop, so, you know, any other day of the week, perhaps a little shot at the end here would get the job done, but not when your opponent's already holding the card you're going to try and rep.
Yeah.
Suit 8, bet 325. Suit 3, call.
Yep.
Quick call.
Yep.
325,000, and that's going to see a switcheroo on the leaderboard as Saeed Garvan moves up to 2.9 million and Dmitry Vitkin drops down to 1.6 million. So Vitkin now the low man at the table with just over 30 big blinds.
С Ханнером. Только на ривере пошел.
God, I'm actually ahead of where he started the day. And remember, he took an early blow in a hand against Vitkin, only the second hand of the final table, where he got coolered, got it in with kings against ace-jack on a jack-high board, all in on the turn, and it was an ace on the river that saw Vitkin double up through Garvan. But now, after another 75 odd hands, Garvan feels that the natural order, the natural balance has been restored, and he's ahead of his opponent once again.
Been a long journey to get here.
5, raise 105. 6, pass.
Trinovsky raising the button.
I was just about to say one card poker, just playing the king, and here's Vitkin.
Call.
Also holding a king, got the better kicker.
Jack, Jack 3 on the flop, and that means plenty of chop-opportunities, 41% of the time. Assuming it gets to showdown, this hand will result in a chop pot.
Right, just get ready. La 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 la. Right, ready just in case. Oh,
Scratch that. Vitkind pairs his 7.
well, that feels quite disappointing. I'll be honest with you. I've had no chocolate, just deliberately not to fatten my larynx. I feel like I've wasted all that effort.
Vitkind's still good. $255,000 in the pot. Vitkind value betting his 7. 90,000. Vlad Troianovski with just king high.
Можете банк чуть в другую сторону класть? Мне неудобно просто ставки
And
делать.
Vlad folds.
Ну как-то его не прям передо мной класть, ладно?
Я поняла, но просто
Ну, хотя бы чуть.
временно в этом нет.
Плохо они те сразу поближе
Ну
двинули.
давайте туда, мне просто совсем неудобно. То есть я уже второй раз как бы.
Зато близко двигайте.
Не знаю,
We
сильно-
talked
сильно
about
они ко мне едут
Vlad's pedigree.
больше.
Let's
Come
also
on,
not forget that
Откатившийся.
including this event, Dmitry Vitkind has cashed on in 10 main events on our tour. At a 4th place finish in Tallinn back in 2010. $1.56 million in live tournament earnings. Has also had some great results online. Plays on stars as Very King. Finished 3rd in the Sunday Million a few years back. There were 7,748 players in that tournament, and his 3rd place finish earned him 116 grand.
Wow.
Nine, 7 of hearts for Troianovski.
5 pass.
Not going to play. 8, 9 off for Shershikov, and that is a button race.
20. 8 pass. Three call.
Happy to take a look out of position at the flop with the ace-4.
Ace, Queen, Jack. So top pair for Garvam.
6-3 check.
Cheeky check back to the pre-flop aggressor.
Shershikov with the gut shot.
Six bet. 165.
Now, I don't know whether Gavin plays this a bit harder now, gets a bit more aggressive, because we said this earlier on, there was a couple of hands when I was chatting with Joe, and Gavin played it in a very, like, just make a raise and take it down when you think you're ahead. A lot of opportunities to be outdrawn. Up against the pre-flop raiser.
6-3 call.
But he is just going to call, take another card.
The turn card is a deuce. Garvam now a 9-1 favourite.
6-3 check.
He checks for a second time. Oh, Shershikov. Double barreling. Or maybe not. The chips are not in play until he throws them in. Remember, the blacks are the big ones now. 100k apiece.
400.
And he has thrown 4 of them in. That's a bet of 400,000 into a pot of 615,000. So a sizable bet. Semi-bluffing his gut shot. Do you think Garvam starts to be worried about his kicker now?
Well, maybe so. I mean, Sheshkov did raise pre-flop. I know that you can't necessarily attach a huge amount of importance to that when you're so short-handed, but if you want to be paranoid, there are some signals there. It's why I was surprised he didn't maybe check raise post-flop, because sometimes he has been playing in a way that shuts a hand down perhaps earlier than you might expect, but that feels good. It's like, I was ahead, I bet, I won, didn't get into trouble. It's...
Although if past behaviour is any indication of future behaviour, he didn't worry about his kicker when he had a pair of kings against knee.
True.
So as Matt said, Shershikov was the pre-flop aggressor, raised it to 120,000, continued flop for 165,000, has barreled 400,000 on the turn, and once again, Garvam calls. The river card is a queen, pairing the board. Garvam has a lock on this. So Shershikov has semi-bluffed flop and turn. Will he pure bluff the river should Garvam give him the opportunity?
Yeah, that really would put Garvam to a tricky decision.
Well, Garvam has checked. He's opened the door.
Again, the tricky thing here again is trying to put him in a range of what does he open with, what does he raise with pre-flop. Once you're down to four-handed, you know that it's so much wider. You know, from Gavin's point of view. So Shershikov comes out firing again. Here, how do you ever really feel with much confidence that you know where you are? The board pairing obviously takes away the worries about the kicker, because you now got aces and queens and you got the jack as backup. So by rights, you should feel more confident, but when your opponent keeps being so aggressive, if Shershikov fires again here...
He's not going to give up on this.
No. And it's like a lot of the situations Nee got himself into. You've spent so much time and effort on this and money.
That's $1 million. That's 2/3 pot. And it's pretty much half of Garvam's stack.
It's a great move, because look how strong Garvam's hand is, but how sick will you feel in this spot? Pre-flop raiser, you checked him and he bet again on the flop. You checked him and he bet again on the turn. You've checked him on the river, and here he is putting $1 million in there. I say the queen coming on the end, though it works against him, it might be what helps him make a good decision.
So this pot is worth 2.4 million. And that's more than the player who's second on the leaderboard has right now.
Punisher says, this is getting crazy. Yeah, but it's good crazy, isn't it?
I think Garvam's in a really tough spot.
Yeah.
And the continued, consistent aggression from Shershikov has got to be what's really worrying him right now. But how much of the time is he chopping this as well? As you said, Matt, it's ace and queens, jack kicker. But what if? What if he's got the queen?
Yeah.
What if he's got ace king?
Absolutely. All these what ifs, all this paranoia. That's why it's such a great bit of timing. And it just shows you how when someone just continues to bet and bet and bet, it makes it so hard for your opponents. Doesn't matter how strong they are.
2 minutes in the tank. And we've talked a lot this week about how the pace of play in Sochi has been pretty fast, even during the last 2 days. The decision time you see on your screen now, how many times have we had to use that?
This is good.
Fewer than 5?
Yeah. And I think in most instances, all of the duels we've seen have been very, very legitimately understandable.
A reminder of the betting action on the screen.
Yeah, Sheshikov, when you see him on the dealer button, you realize what a compelling story it is. Raised pre-flop, fired out on the turn, fired out. Sorry, fired out on the flop, fired out on the turn. Again on the river. Oh, he's let it go. He's folded it. He's shown the ace and he's letting it go. Wow.
This is good.
Oh, God. And Sheshikov shows the 8-9.
The bluff gets through, and it sees Pavel Sheshikov receive a round of applause from the audience as he reclaims the chip lead. 80 big blinds for Sheshikov. Garvam drops down to 43 bigs.
Excellent play. And such a nasty bite to show the bluff at the end. Nearly 4 million. Sad Garvam still in decent shape. 2.16 million. Vitkin the shortest stack, and even he has 35 big blinds with more than 50 minutes still on the clock. That's pretty impressive. Balls of steel. It's one of those scenarios where the more your opponent goes through the history of the hand, you realize looking stronger and stronger and stronger. A lot of love for that on Twitch as well. And a raise and take it for Sheshikov on this hand. Getting ever so close to the 4 million mark. Steve Ryan, incidentally, before the fold said, I feel a call. Now, I don't know where you felt that from, but you might want to check the house in case there are some strangers there playing poker, because incorrect. That's all I'm saying, Steve.
A lot of people reacting that that was a really good hand. John Delano among them saying that was great poker. And Sheshikov has really demonstrated his class. The time he spent at the feature table and at this final table. Oh, hello. Vitkind opens with Queen Jack. Garvan picks up Ace King. Probably steaming a little bit right now after that hand against Sheshikov. And he's got history against Vitkind as well. Starts the hand, 43 bigs. Vitkind the effective stack with 33 bigs.
It's a raise, as you might expect. Takes it from 115 to 280.
Now, can Vitkind legitimately flat this out of position out of that stack? I would say no. Oh, he's reached the same conclusion.
Well done, everyone. Yeah, as he gets closer to that 30 big blinds and below, every chip now way too valuable to throw away on speculative holdings.
Yeah.
You know, at that stage, you want to be the player in control of the hand. You want to be driving the action. You want to have position. You're going to be a bit more selective about the situations you volunteer yourself into.
Yeah, so his 1.6 million translates to just over 30 big blinds, and we've still got more than 50 minutes to play at this level. The next blind increase, by the way, is not insignificant. It's less about the blinds and more about the ante. We go to 30,000, 60,000, but the ante doubles from 5,000 to 10,000.
Yeah. And four-handed, play moving quite quickly. Before you know it, that's just a big chunky of chips every single hand, even if you're just folding to these pre-flop raises or just folding voluntarily. Costing you a lot every single orbit.
So this is blind on blind, unraised pre-flop. Shershikov's 9-6 suited against Vitkin's Queen 7 suited. Top pair for Shershikov. He pairs his 6. James Everson says Shershikov for the win. Surprised that wasn't a quicker fold by Garvam. The tournament's finally getting to him. Garvam out next. Not necessarily in agreement with that analysis or that prediction.
No.
I think if the tournament was getting to him, that bad beat he took on the second hand of the day would have been his undoing. But he bounced back from that. I'm sure he can recover from this.
Yeah, and you've already read out, he's got a string of decent results. He's not exactly a newcomer to the game of poker. Let's be honest, if you've been playing poker for any amount of time, you got to be capable of taking a few punches to the chin.
Granted, Garvam is the only non-pro remaining at the table. But no one is short stacked right now. 81 bigs for the chip leader, 72 for Troianovsky, 46 for Garvam, and 31 for Vitkind. Under the gun fold from Troianovsky. King 5 of clubs for Shershikov, and that is a raise. 120,000. The Queen and the Jack of Strawberries for Dmitry Vitkind.
Strawberries. Got a lot of strawberries in my garden at the moment. It's a constant race between me, the slugs, and the snails who can get to them first. You don't want to harvest them too early because they're just not good enough. But if you leave them just too long, bang, gone. It's a very tense time at home, I can assure you.
This man knows his onions and his strawberries. And his bees. So a fold from Garvam in the big blind sees us go heads up to the flop. And it's Queen High, top pair for Vitkind. Not much for Shershikov to get excited about. Backdoor straight and flush draws.
Yeah, one overcard. Again, on the back of that previous move against Garvam, you know that Shershikov is not always going to do what you would expect to do if he sees an opportunity, but Vitkin not going to be a target this time. Three of diamonds on the turn, and now Vitkin going to try and get some value out of this, even though the board has become slightly more terrifying. It's all good. And Vitkin up to 1.77 million. About 35 blinds. Smitty does point out that Shershikov has been big stack for the last 3 days. That doesn't happen by chance. Absolutely, sir.